Gabon Wood Show closing this Wednesday 2019 was a real platform for making new contacts and exceeding the scope of one's activities by meeting important business partners, a great opportunity for economic operators from different backgrounds. A wind of freedom is now blowing on the underground scene in Sudan, where artists enthusiastically rallied the popular uprising that led the Sudanese army to dismiss President Omar al-Bashir in April. This is an evil that has appearing in international competitions for some African countries for several years, and Nigeria is no exception to the rule in the African Cup of Nations 2019. On Tuesday, the Super Eagles went on strike, claiming their victory bonus against Burundi. These are our top stories. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast. Over 75 stands were present during the second edition of Gabon Wood Show, closing this Wednesday 2019. The opportunity was offered to different businesses to make new contact and extend the scope of their activity by meeting important partners. Economic operators also seized this opportunity to better promote their products and company image.
Yeah, definitely. You see so many exhibitors, coming from different parts of the world to put up a stall is an indicator in itself to show how popular the show has become and how popular the made in Gabon products are becoming across. Let me tell you also that in last 2-3 years, Gabon has become Africa's #1 veneer manufacturer and world's #1 exporter of face veneer.
Gabon Wood Show is the first exhibition of wood products, wood processing tools and forestry equipment in Central and West Africa. The exhibition in the center of the Gabonese capital, Libreville, takes place on an area of a total surface of 5,000 cubic meters of space with more than 5,000 foreign and Gabonese professional visitors. Since last Monday, the Botanical Garden has been a courtyard where different professionals from the wood sector come together, as well as those accompanying these people who work in the forestry sector. Everyone at their level and in their way tries as well as possible to promote their activity.
And here we see today more than 3,500 Gabonese working in NCOG. They all have got training while on the job. So we think it's not a school where you can go and take a training. This training has to be on the job, which is important.
One thing is certain, the ambition remains the same. On one hand, obtaining special brand knowledge and promotion through an important regional and international marketing campaign, and on the other hand, learning more about the latest trends in the innovative products and technology industry by interacting with industry specialists. These are the reasons among many for the presence of all these exhibitors. A surge of freedom has taken over Sudan's underground music scene since the army ousted longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir in April after months of nationwide protest against his rule. From rap to Afrobeat, musicians living in Sudan and overseas have composed tunes punctuated by some of the protest movement's most popular slogans.
Listen to our music, so a lot of times when we are in the sitting, we try to sing with people, all this music. A lot of the music that we did now have phrases from the revolution turned into melodies and songs. That's the whole idea.
Protesters accuse the paramilitaries of the Rapid Support Forces for being responsible for the repression of the sitting, which was demanding the transfer of power to civilians after the fall of Omar al-Bashir. In a moody Khartoum crushed by strong heat where the RSF are deployed on every street corner, the artists painfully remember the festive atmosphere of the camp, and many artists have started producing revolutionary songs from the outbreak of the protest movement in December.
The chant. You see, the relationship between music and the sittings are the chants. Because there's no music, so it's all about the chants. And it's focused on the lyrics, on the words of what they say inside, That's what brings up the people. As if you still keep reminding them of why we're here. That's the purpose of that.
In the small villa that hosts his radio, Abdul Gader Gadura exhibits an impressive collection of vinyls, including albums by Bob Marley or Michael Jackson. In order to spread the sounds of the revolution, everyone was relying on the internet. But with the repression, the euphoria of the beginnings gave way to trauma. At least 128 people were killed in the dispersal of sit-ins and violence in the following days, according to doctors close to the protest. The authorities provided a death toll of 61 people. Since its opening in April 2018 in Doha, students and families have increasingly called on the services of the new Qatar National Library. Here, there is no censorship, said the Deputy Executive Director of the institution. The National Library of Qatar, which contains the largest collection of books in the Gulf, is just in its first year and hopes to break the cultural isolation of the country, offering the Qataris an ideal reading environment.
Unlike many of the world's national libraries, we have a public library function that goes alongside our national and research library function. This means that all of the books you see in this space can be borrowed by the users, and in many ways it's fulfilling something which wasn't present in the country before. Any library like Qatar National Library, New York Public Library, needs to reflect the needs and interests of its users, of its population. So our collection develops in response to what our users want. And certainly there's no censorship of any materials here. There's no censorship of the internet in the building. It exists within the internet offering that Qatar has. And I would say really to come in and take a look around the shelves, to look at the catalogue, which of course you don't need to be in Qatar to do, you can see exactly how much we sort of have to offer.
Designed in Doha by a Dutch artist, Rem Koolhaas, the new library impresses with its architecture reminiscent of an ultra-modern airport, and for its collection, more than 1 million books in several languages and 500,000 digital editions made available to readers.
We're in an intriguing situation here politically, but from the library's perspective, it just makes us more keen to make sure that our profile is raised and our connections are made with people in other countries.
To cope with its embargo, the library has established links with similar institutions abroad outside the Gulf region. Opened on April 16, 2018, the library illustrates Qatar's commitment to reducing its dependence on hydrocarbons and moving to a knowledge-based economy. Nissan shareholders approved sweeping reforms to improve corporate governance at the automaker following last year's arrest and ouster of former chairman Carlos Ghosn, while embattled CEO Hiroto Saikawa signaled he was preparing to step aside. Saying it was his intention to take responsibility for the scandal, Saikawa added that implementing the structural overall market an important personal milestone. He said his focus would now turn to developing a next-generation leadership to take the helm of the company. Under the reforms, Renault, which owns 43.4% of Nissan, boosts its representation of some board committees. Chief Executive Hiroto Saikawa said the Japanese firm wanted a win-win relationship with Renault. The alliance has been successful until now because we have respected each other's independence, he said. Speaking on Tuesday at Nissan's first annual general meeting since the removal and arrest of ex-chairman Carlos Ghosn last year on allegations of financial misconduct. Chief Executive Hiroto Saikawa apologized on behalf of the company for how the misconduct has caused serious concern for their shareholders. The issue of match bonuses seemed to have been settled for Nigeria's Super Eagle, but here's the thing. On Tuesday, John Obi Mikel's teammate protested by refusing to participate in their training session. The Super Eagles also refused to participate in the pre-game press conference. Only Gernot Rohr was present on the eve of their encounter with Guinea in Alexandria this Wednesday. The Super Eagle also refused to participate in the pre-game press conference. Only Gernot Rohr was present on the eve of their encounter with Guinea in Alexandria this Wednesday. According to BBC, the players, after the victory against Burundi, disagree with the amount of the bonus set at $10,000 per player. At a press conference, Gernot Rohr said his players were in conclave. He also recalled that the captain had spoken to the players to talk some sense into them for team to finally agree to train. Later in the evening, the Nigerian Football Federation spokesman said the problem was solved. He added that the Nigerian Football Federation had received a portion of the funds allocated to the tournament and converted them into dollars to pay players and officials. This is not the first time such events have occurred within the Nigerian team. The national under-20 and women's team had also gone on strike to receive their respective World Cup allowances. This situation came as the Nigerian Sports Ministry had already put in place a charter before the 2018 Russian Football World Cup with regards to the payment of performance-related bonuses for all Nigerian Football Federation teams. Gabon Wood Show closing this Wednesday 2019 was a real platform for making new contacts and exceeding the scope of one's activities by meeting important business partners, a great opportunity for economic operators from different backgrounds. A wind of freedom is now blowing on the underground scene in Sudan, where artists enthusiastically rallied the popular uprising that led the Sudanese army to dismiss President Omar al-Bashir in April. This is an evil that has appearing in international competitions for some African countries for several years, and Nigeria is no exception to the rule in the African Cup of Nations 2019. On Tuesday, the Super Eagles went on strike, claiming their victory bonus against Burundi. That's all for our newscast today. Stay tuned on Gabon 24 for more news.